The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and Scotch tape. 3 gift bags lined the counter, each labeled with a grandchild's name. Sunscreen, coloring books, sand buckets with hand-painted names, little seashell keychains that said Sanibel 2024. 3 years of planning, 3 years of saving. My phone buzzed across the counter. Trevor's message glowed on the screen. Mom, we need to talk. Monica thinks it's best if this trip is just our immediate family. You understand, right? We'll make it up to you. I read it twice, then again. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, Mrs. Patterson's dog barked. Everything was normal, except the words that made no sense at all. Just our immediate family. I set the phone down carefully. My hands were shaking. I looked at the gift bags again, at the tags written in my best handwriting. To Olivia, love Grandma Bonnie. To Mason, love Grandma Bonnie. When had I stopped being family? Another text arrived. Thanks for understanding, Mom. You're the best. The best. I thought about my spreadsheet. Every dollar saved, every sacrifice documented. Online tutoring until 11 at night. Dinners of ramen and canned soup. The thermostat at 62 all last winter, wearing Daniel's old cardigan because heating oil was expensive. I'd sold my husband's golf clubs last spring, the ones his father had given him. Got $340 at the consignment shop. The woman behind the counter had asked, "Your husband doesn't play anymore?" I'd smiled. No, not anymore. What I didn't say was that Daniel had been dead for 4 years, that I was selling them to add to the Florida fund, that I'd promised myself one perfect memory with my family before it was too late. $21,163.84. Every penny in my account. Flights for 8 people. A villa on Sanibel Island. A rental van. Tickets to the Shell Museum Olivia talked about constantly. All of it under my name. Bonnie Phillips. Account holder. I scrolled through old messages with Trevor. 3 months ago. Can you add 2 more plane tickets for Monica's parents? 2 months ago. Can you make a restaurant reservation? They need a deposit. Last week. Can you order the kids' swimsuits? Monica's swamped. And I'd said yes, every time, because that's what mothers do. We say yes, we make it work, we put ourselves last. Except somewhere along the way, I love you had become I need you to do this. I walked to the sink and looked out at the backyard. I could just see the bird feeder Daniel had hung from the maple tree, swaying in the November wind. What would you tell me to do? I whispered to the dark window. But Daniel wasn't there to answer. He'd died on a Tuesday afternoon, collapsed in the garden planting tulips. Trevor had held me at the funeral. Whispered, "I'll take care of you, Mom. I promise." I'd believed him. I looked back at the gift bags. All that planning and love wrapped in tissue paper. Then at my phone, at that message that cut me out with 8 words. Monica thinks it's best if this trip is just our immediate family. Not we think. Monica thinks. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger. Something colder. Something that felt like finally understanding a truth I'd been avoiding. I wasn't part of their immediate family anymore. I was just the woman who paid for it. I didn't sleep. Instead, I opened my laptop and searched my Gmail for Florida trip. 47 emails appeared. Confirmations, receipts, itineraries. Then I opened my family folder. The emails went back 3 years, and reading them, I saw the pattern I'd been missing. 2 months after Daniel's funeral, Monica had emailed about handling my finances. Just to take some pressure off you. I'd said no, felt guilty about it. Thanksgiving 2 years ago. My mom really wants to host this year. You understand, right? Christmas had been at Monica's parents', too. The night before, Monica texted, "Can you bring napkins?" Not the pecan pie I'd spent 2 days making with Daniel's mother's recipe. Just napkins. Last Mother's Day. We're taking Monica's mom to brunch. You're welcome to join if you want. If I want, like it was optional, I'd gone, smiled through mimosas while Monica's mother talked about her Alaska cruise. I'd barely spoken. No one asked me to. Trevor had left a generic Hallmark card by my plate. Unsigned. Olivia's birthday, 8 months ago. Kids only for the first hour. Olivia's overstimulated, keeping it small. I'd arrived late as instructed. Monica's parents were there in the good chairs. Her sister, her college roommate. I'd stood in the kitchen holding the American Girl doll I'd saved for her, watching Olivia open presents through the window. The doll stayed in its box. I never saw her play with it. Then I found the email that made everything clear. 6 months ago, accidentally CC'd to me. Trevor, we need to talk about your mom. She's getting too involved. My therapist says this enmeshment isn't healthy. We're a family now. You, me, and the kids. Your mom had her turn. Now it's ours. I'd stared at it for 10 minutes at my desk in the teacher's lounge, then deleted it. I'd told myself Monica was stressed, that she didn't mean it that way, but I'd stopped calling 3 times a day, stopped bringing groceries, stopped surprise visits. I'd made myself smaller, quieter, less, and it still hadn't been enough. Now I opened my banking app, THAP. 21,163,084 hours stared back at me. Account holder, Bonnie Phillips. Authorized users, none. Transaction history showed 3 years of deposits. $20 here, $50 there, $340s in April. Daniel's Golf Clubs. $180 in June, my grandmother's china. Every sacrifice documented. I'd given up so much to create connection, to matter. And Trevor had cut me out with a text. Daniel used to say, "People will treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you." I'd taught Trevor my love was unconditional and my boundaries were negotiable. I'd taught him he could take, and I would keep giving. I'd taught him I didn't matter as much as keeping peace. Dawn broke gray outside my window. I pulled out my old grief journal and wrote on the first blank page, "It ends tonight. Not the love, but the accepting." My hand was steady. My eyes were dry. I didn't know what I'd do, but I was done pretending being needed was the same as being loved. Sunday morning I dressed for church. Black slacks, burgundy sweater, Daniel's pearl earrings. In the mirror, I looked exactly like myself, but I felt different. Hollowed out and filled up at the same time. At church, I sat in my usual back pew. 6 rows up sat the women who came every Sunday. 7 of them, widows and divorcees, gray-haired and soft-spoken. Dorothy, Gladys, Ruby, Shirley, Patricia, Evelyn. I knew their names, but not their stories. Today I couldn't stop watching them. The way Dorothy laughed at Ruby's whisper. The way Patricia squeezed Evelyn's hand during the homily about loss. They had each other. Family by choice, not blood. After service, instead of taking my coffee and leaving, I walked to their table. "Bonnie, want to sit?" Dorothy smiled, patting the empty chair. I sat carefully like I might break something. "How are you?" Ruby asked. "We haven't seen you at Wednesday prayer group." "I've been avoiding people," I said. The honesty surprised me. Shirley raised an eyebrow. "Avoiding people or feelings?" "Both." Patricia poured me coffee. "Something happened." Not a question. "My son uninvited me from a trip I paid for." Silence. Then Evelyn whistled low. "How much?" Dorothy asked. $21,000. Someone gasped. "Can you get it back?" Patricia asked. "Yes. It's all in my account, under my name." I took a breath. "He doesn't know that yet." The women exchanged glances. "When's the trip?" Ruby asked. "Friday. 6 days." Dorothy set down her coffee and looked at me hard. "My son's a cardiologist in Boston. Makes $500,000 a year. Know how often he calls?" "Twice. Birthday and Christmas. Last month he called to ask for $5,000 for a vacation home down payment." "Dorothy," Gladys started. "I said no. First time ever. He said, 'I thought you loved me,' like love is a checkbook." Shirley spoke up. "My daughter cut me off 3 years ago because I didn't vote how she wanted. Won't let me see my grandson." "My ex turned my kids against me," Patricia said quietly. "Took 20 years to get my daughter back. My son still won't talk." The stories kept coming. Ruby's daughter was an addict who'd lost custody. Evelyn's sister only called for money. Gladys cared for her Alzheimer's husband while her daughter sent thoughts and prayers from California. We sat as the church emptied around us, telling our truths. Finally, Evelyn looked at me. Bonnie, if your son was a stranger who took $21,000 and told you to stay home, what would you do? I opened my mouth, closed it. You'd never give him another cent, Dorothy said. But he's my son, I whispered. Exactly, Ruby said, which means it hurts more, but it doesn't mean you accept it. Gladys took my hand. My therapist said, you can't control how people treat you, but you can control your response. Sometimes the most loving thing for yourself and them is to say no. What if he never speaks to me again? He's already not speaking to you, Shirley said gently. Not really. When did he last call just to talk? Not to ask for something? I couldn't remember. Love isn't supposed to make you invisible, Patricia said. 7 women who'd been erased by people who should have loved them most. For the first time in 4 days, I didn't feel alone. When we stood to leave, Ruby hugged me. Wednesday night's prayer group. Really just us talking and eating cookies. Come. I will. I drove home slowly, pulled into my driveway and sat with the engine off, hands on the wheel. The gift bags were still on the counter. 21 packages nobody wanted. I picked up a keychain. Sanibel 2024. Empty photo space waiting. I thought about the women, about Dorothy's son who thought love was money, about all of us giving until nothing was left, and Evelyn's question. If he was a stranger, what would you do? I opened my laptop. The banking app loaded. The freeze account button glowed. I didn't click it, not yet. But I didn't close the window either. I sat there, hands on keyboard, waiting for courage to choose myself. Outside, November wind rattled the windows. Inside, only the refrigerator's hum and my breathing. And somewhere in that silence, something shifted. Not anger, not revenge, just the smallest voice saying, "You matter." I closed the laptop, but I didn't forget what that button looked like. Thursday night, 24 hours before their flight. I stood in my bedroom, staring at the suitcase I'd packed weeks ago. Sundresses and sandals. A new swimsuit I'd been too embarrassed to try on in the store. The sun hat Daniel had bought me on our last trip to the coast, the one with the wide brim and the ribbon that always came untied. I'd packed it all so carefully. Rolled my clothes the way YouTube videos taught me to save space. Tucked my medications into a clear bag. Even printed out my boarding pass, folded neatly in the front pocket. All of it pointless now. My phone sat on the nightstand, dark and silent. Trevor hadn't called, hadn't texted again. Just that one message 3 days ago, and then nothing. Like the conversation was over, like I'd agreed. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my laptop, pulled up the booking confirmations one more time. Villa final deposit, $8,500, scheduled for tomorrow. 8:15 a.m., rental van, $10,500, scheduled 8:30 a.m. Dinner reservations, tour deposits, all of it lined up like dominoes. One click and it would all go through. Trevor would board that plane with Monica and the kids and Monica's parents, and they'd have their perfect week in Florida. They'd post pictures on Instagram, sunsets and shell collecting and family dinners, and I'd see them scroll past on my feed. And I'd be here, in this house, alone. But it was my money, my account, my name on every single receipt. I clicked over to my banking app and stared at the account details. Account holder, Bonnie Phillips, authorized users. None that word, none, felt significant somehow. I'd never added Trevor, never given him access. Even when Monica had suggested it 2 years ago, something had stopped me. My finger hovered over the freeze account button. One click. That's all it would take. But what would happen after? Trevor would call, angry or panicked or both. Monica would blame me. The kids would ask why Grandma ruined their vacation. I'd become the villain in a story I'd spent 3 years trying to write as love. My phone rang. Trevor's name lit up the screen. 11:47 p.m. I almost didn't answer, but some old instinct kicked in. The mother who always picked up, always said yes, and I pressed accept. "Mom, you still awake?" His voice sounded tired. Behind him, I heard water running. He was in the bathroom, door closed. "Yes, sweetheart." Silence. Then. "Look, about the text. Monica just thinks 7 days might be too much for you. The heat, the walking. We're worried about your health." I closed my eyes. There it was, the excuse wrapped in concern. "Trevor, I've been planning this for 3 years. I paid for everything." "I know. And we're so grateful." "Grateful?" The word came out sharper than I meant. "You're excluding me from a trip I organized." More silence. The water stopped running. "Monica's mom is older than you and she's coming." The sentence hung there, damning in its simplicity. "You're right," I said slowly. "So this isn't about my health at all, is it?" "Mom, can we not do this right now? We have an early flight." "You're right," I repeated. "Have a safe trip, Trevor." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, not from sadness, from something clearer, sharper. He hadn't denied it, hadn't apologized, just deflected and tried to make me feel difficult for asking. I looked at the laptop screen again, at that freeze button. At 11:52 p.m. on Thursday night, I still hadn't decided. But I also hadn't closed the window. I got into bed with the laptop still open beside me, the glow of the screen painting shadows on the ceiling. Somewhere in the house, a pipe creaked. The heat kicked on with a low rumble, and I lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Daniel. The week before he died, we'd had an argument. I couldn't even remember what it was about now. Something small, something stupid. But I'd been angry, and he'd looked at me and said, "Bonnie, don't let people treat your kindness like weakness. Not even me." I'd laughed it off then, but lying here now, I heard it differently. Don't let people treat your kindness like weakness. At 2:34 a.m., I finally fell asleep. The laptop was still open when I woke at 7:00. Friday morning came cold and bright. I made coffee with shaking hands. The kitchen felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath with me. I checked my phone, no new messages, then opened Instagram. Trevor had posted a story at 6:47 a.m., a photo of their suitcases by the front door. Caption, "Florida fam trip. 8 people tagged. Monica, the kids, Monica's parents." I wasn't tagged. I wasn't in the photo. 7:45 a.m. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open. Next payment? Villa deposit, $8,500, scheduled 8:15 a.m. 8:00 a.m. My phone rang. Trevor. "Mom, we're about to head to the airport. Just wanted to say thanks for everything." In the background. "Trevor, hurry up." Monica's voice, impatient. "Have fun, honey," I heard myself say. "Love you." Quick, mechanical. Then he was gone. I set the phone down and looked at the screen. 8:05 a.m. I thought about the women from church. Dorothy's son who thought love was a checkbook. Shirley's daughter who'd cut her off over politics. All of us, quietly erased by people who promised to love us. 8:10 a.m. My cursor hovered over the freeze button. I thought about Daniel, about what he'd say. He'd probably tell me to forgive them, move on. That's who he was. Soft, forgiving, willing to accept less than he deserved because he hated conflict. But Daniel also said, "Don't let people treat your kindness like weakness." 8:11 a.m. I looked around my kitchen, at the gift bags still lined up on the counter, at the calendar on the wall with Florida trip written in red marker across this week, at the empty chair where Daniel used to sit, drinking coffee and reading the paper. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about teaching them a lesson. It was about teaching myself that I still mattered. 8:12 a.m. I clicked freeze account. A confirmation box appeared. "Are you sure you want to pause all transactions?" "Yes. All linked cards and scheduled payments have been disabled. Account is now frozen." I stared at the words, waiting to feel something. Triumph, maybe, or vindication. Instead, I just felt quiet. I closed the laptop. Poured myself more coffee. Walked to the window and looked out at the November morning, gray and ordinary. At 8:15, my email pinged. Payment declined. Villa final deposit. At 8:18, my phone started ringing. Trevor. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again and again. At 8:32, a text arrived. Mom, call me now. Card's not working. 8:45. Mom, this isn't funny. We're at the gate. They won't let us board. 9:10, Monica texted me for the first time in 6 months. Bonnie, I don't know what's happening, but we need you to fix this immediately. The kids are crying. I read each message as it came in. Didn't respond to any of them. At 9:30, Mom, please. Whatever I did, I'm sorry. Just unfreeze the account. 9:55, Monica again. This is childish. You're punishing children because your feelings were hurt? Really? I noticed Monica still hadn't apologized. Just blamed. At 9:40, Trevor left a voicemail. I played it on speaker. Mom! Background noise, airport announcements, a child crying. Look, I know you're upset. Monica told me about the text. It came out wrong. We do want you there. Please, just call me back. We'll figure this out. I promise. Monica told me about the text, so he'd known. Before he sent that breezy thanks for understanding message, he'd known exactly what Monica had done. He'd known, and he'd let it happen. At 10:15, another voicemail. Olivia. Grandma, Daddy says we can't go see the turtles. Did you change your mind about Florida? I made you a drawing for the beach house. That one hurt. My eyes burned and I had to set the phone down, but I didn't pick it back up. At 10:30, an email from the resort. Reservation canceled. Refund processed. Cancellation fee, $850. The phone kept ringing. Different numbers now. Trevor had started calling from other phones. At 11 o'clock, I answered one. Mom, why are you doing this? Trevor's voice was raw. I could hear the airport terminal behind him, announcements echoing. You told me I wasn't part of your family, Trevor. I never said that. Monica wants to keep it just her family. Your exact words. Silence. Mom, I didn't mean... You did. And you know what hurt most? Not the exclusion. That you thought I'd just pay for it anyway. We were going to make it up to you. Trevor, I spent 3 years saving for this. I ate instant noodles. I didn't heat the house last winter. I sold your father's golf clubs. A sharp intake of breath. You sold Dad's clubs? Because I thought making memories with my family mattered more than keeping things. Long pause. Someone announced a gate change in the background. What do you want from me, Mom? The question hung there, and I realized I didn't have an answer. I didn't want an apology I'd have to demand. Didn't want him to grovel or beg. Didn't want to punish him. I just wanted him to see me. Nothing, I said finally. Not anymore. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it off. The house fell quiet. Just the refrigerator humming and the tick of the kitchen clock. I sat at the table, hands wrapped around my cold coffee, and wondered if I'd just lost my son. The answer came slowly, settling over me like snow. I hadn't lost him today. I'd been losing him for years, one small erasure at a time. Today, I'd just finally stopped pretending otherwise. At noon, I called Dorothy. I did it, I said when she answered. I froze the account. Oh, Bonnie. Her voice was soft. How do you feel? I don't know yet. Scared, maybe, but also... I searched for the word. Free? That sounds about right. You want to come over? We're having lunch. We? The Wednesday group. Ruby's making her white bean soup. Evelyn brought bread. 40 minutes later, I sat in Dorothy's living room with 6 women I barely knew, eating soup and telling them everything. They didn't judge, didn't say I should have done it differently, just listened and nodded and passed the bread. What happens now? Patricia asked. I don't know. Maybe he'll never speak to me again. Then he doesn't deserve you, Ruby said simply. Shirley leaned forward. Bonnie, you know what's beautiful about what you did? You didn't do it to hurt him. You did it to save yourself. There's a difference. It doesn't feel beautiful. It feels like I broke my family. Your family was already broken, Gladys said gently. You just stopped pretending to hold the pieces together. We sat there as the afternoon light faded. 7 women who'd all lost something. Children, marriages, years, and somehow found each other. As I drove home that evening, my phone still off in my purse, I thought about the money. $20,313.84 after the cancellation fee. Sitting in my account, untouched. I'd saved it for Florida, for family, for connection. And I'd gotten something else instead. A boundary, a line drawn, a voice that finally said no. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat in the car for a long moment before going inside. The gift bags were still on the counter, the suitcase still packed in my bedroom, evidence of a trip that would never happen. I unpacked slowly, put the sundresses back in the closet, the medications back in the bathroom cabinet, folded the sun hat and placed it on the shelf. Then I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop one more time. The banking app showed my account. Active. Balance. $23,084. I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened a new tab and searched. Sanibel Island Vacation Rentals. 7 adults next month. Because I'd saved for 3 years to go to Florida. And I was going to go to Florida. Just not with them. 2 weeks later, I walked into Wednesday prayer group with my laptop. The women looked up from their coffee and cookies, and Dorothy smiled. Bonnie, you came back. I did. I set the laptop on the table. And I have a question. 6 faces turned toward me, curious. How would you all feel about going to Florida? Silence. Then Ruby laughed. What? I have $20,000 I saved for a trip. The cancellation fee was only $850, so I got most of it back. I already paid for it. The villa's available next month, smaller but nice. 4 bedrooms, I checked. Bonnie, Evelyn said slowly, you don't have to. I want to. I planned this trip for people I love, and you are people I love. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. You barely know us. I know enough. I know Dorothy's son hasn't called. I know Gladys hasn't left her husband's side in 2 years. I know Shirley hasn't seen her grandson. I know all of you have given everything and gotten so little back. I opened the laptop. So I'm asking, will you come to Florida with me? Gladys spoke first. My neighbor can check on Henry. He won't even notice I'm gone. My daughter won't care, Shirley said quietly. One by one, they said yes. Ruby reached across the table and squeezed my hand. When do we leave? December 15th, 4 weeks. That night, I rebooked everything. Smaller villa, $3,800. 7 plane tickets. Economy, $2,150. Budget for food and tours, $4,000. Total, just over $10,000. I'd still have $10,000 left. Cushion, security, mine. 3 days before we were set to leave, someone knocked on my door. Trevor stood on my porch, alone. No Monica, no kids. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. I saw your Facebook post, he said. About Florida. I'd posted a photo of the villa, grateful for chosen family and second chances. Can we talk? I'm packing. Mom, please. I stepped aside. He came in, hands in his pockets, looking around like he'd never seen the place before. His eyes landed on the kitchen counter, no more gift bags, but the keychains were there in a small bowl. I came to apologize, he said. Really apologize. I waited. What Monica and I did, it was wrong. Excluding you like that. Taking your money and... He stopped. It was wrong. Was it Monica's idea? He hesitated. Does it matter? Yes. She suggested it, but I agreed. That makes it my fault, too. I nodded slowly. First real honesty I'd heard from him in years. Why did you agree, Trevor? He looked at the floor. Because it's easier to keep Monica happy than to stand up for you. The admission hung between us. And that's supposed to make me feel better? No. It's supposed to make you understand I'm weak. Not malicious. Just weak. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself coffee. Didn't offer him any. Trevor, you're not weak. You made a choice. And choices show who we are more than intentions ever do. I know. For 3 years I made choices. To save money. To be patient. To swallow every small hurt because I was afraid of losing you. I turned to face him, but I lost myself instead. Mom, I'm not punishing you. I'm choosing myself. Finally. His eyes were red. Are we going to be okay? I don't know yet. I walked to my office and came back with a sealed envelope, handed it to him. What's this? A letter. Read it when you're ready. He held it like it might burn him. I miss you, Mom. I miss you too. But I miss the son who used to call just to tell me about his day. The one who brought the kids over without being asked. The one who saw me as a person, not a problem to be managed. I can be that person again. Maybe. But Trevor, I can't teach you how. You have to figure that out yourself. He nodded, tears finally spilling over. I love you. I love you too. But love isn't enough anymore. It has to come with respect. After he left, I stood at the window and watched him drive away. The envelope sat on his passenger seat, unopened. I didn't know if he'd read it, didn't know if anything would change. But I'd said what I needed to say. The rest was up to him. The villa sat back from the beach, painted yellow with white shutters and a wide porch that caught the afternoon sun. 7 women stood in the driveway, staring. It's beautiful, Dorothy whispered. It's ours for a week, I said. That first afternoon we unpacked slowly, no rushing, no agenda. When we gathered on the porch for dinner, grocery store rotisserie chicken and salad, Evelyn raised her glass of wine. To Bonnie, for seeing us. To all of us, I corrected, for seeing each other. We clinked mismatched glasses and ate as the sun turned the Gulf orange and gold. Day 3, we went to the beach. Gladys collected 47 shells, carefully placing each one in a plastic bag. For Henry, she said. Even if he doesn't remember, I'll remember for him. Ruby swam out past the breakers and floated on her back, face to the sky. When she came back, her cheeks were wet with more than salt water. I haven't felt this free in 10 years. Patricia took out a small notebook and wrote down her children's names. Then she walked to the water's edge and let the pages fall into the tide, watching them dissolve. What was that? Shirley asked. Letting go, Patricia said simply. Day 5, I woke before dawn and walked the beach alone. I'd brought Daniel's photo, the one from our anniversary trip, him laughing at something I'd said, and carried it in my pocket. I sat on the sand and took it out. Did I do the right thing? The waves rolled in. A pelican dove for fish. And somewhere in the ordinary magic of morning I felt Daniel's answer. You did what you had to do. Now live. That evening we gathered on the beach. Each woman held a candle. Dorothy went first. I matter, even if my son doesn't call. Gladys. I am more than a caretaker. Shirley. My love is not conditional on acceptance. Patricia. I am not my failures. Ruby. I am worthy of gentleness. Evelyn. I am enough as I am. My turn. I looked at these women who'd become family in the space of weeks. I choose myself. We lit our candles and released them in paper boats on the water, watching them float into darkness, carrying our truths. That night I slept without dreams, just deep, restful quiet. For the first time in 4 years, I wasn't waiting for anything. I was just here. 1 week after we returned, Trevor showed up again. He held my letter, creased from being opened and refolded multiple times. I read it, he said. I'd written, Dear Trevor, this isn't goodbye. It's a boundary. I love you. I will always love you. But I can't keep loving you more than I love myself. This wasn't just about a trip. It was about years of being treated like my value depends on what I provide. I'm not asking you to choose between Monica and me. I'm asking you to see me as a whole person, not just a resource. If you can do that, call me. If you can't, I'll respect that too. But I won't be invisible anymore. Love, Mom. He sat on my couch, hands clasped between his knees. I ended things with Monica. I froze. What? 2 days ago. I moved out last week. He looked up. Not because of you, because of me. I realized I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. Trevor. She's been seeing a therapist for control issues. We had a session together and she admitted. He stopped. She was jealous of you. Jealous? Of me? Of how the kids love you. Of how Dad loved you. Of how I still call you first when something good happens. His voice cracked. She said you made her feel like she'd never measure up, so she tried to erase you instead. I sat down slowly. That doesn't excuse. I know, but it explains. And I stayed silent because I was afraid if I defended you, I'd lose her. He laughed bitterly. Turns out I lost both of you anyway. Where are the kids? With her. We're doing 50-50 custody. It's messy, but it's honest. We sat in silence. The house creaked around us. I'm sorry you're going through this, I said finally. Don't be. You taught me something important. He looked at me. That love without respect is just a pretty word. What now? I don't know, but I want to try. To be the son you deserve. Not perfect, but present. Something in my chest loosened. I'd like that. He stood, hesitated. Can I hug you? Yes. He held me like he used to when he was small, before the world complicated everything. When he pulled back, he was crying. Can I take you to dinner? Tomorrow? I smiled. Let me check my calendar. After he left, I sat with the letter in my hands. All those words I'd been afraid to say. And he'd heard them. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not completely, but it was a start. Thanksgiving, my house, around my table, Trevor and the 3 grandkids, Dorothy, Ruby, and Evelyn from the Wednesday group. 11 of us crowded around the table Daniel and I had bought 30 years ago. Monica wasn't there. She and Trevor were cordial now. Shared custody worked, mostly. But holidays were still separate. Maybe someday that would change. Maybe not. At 6 o'clock, during dessert, Monica called. Trevor put her on speaker without asking. The kids need to come home. It's late. We agreed on 8, Trevor said calmly. It's only 6. Well, I changed my mind. The table went quiet. Olivia looked scared. I reached for the phone. Monica? Sharp pause. Bonnie. The kids are having dinner with their family. They'll be home at 8 as planned. You're not their... I'm their grandmother. And whether you like it or not, I'm part of their lives. Silence crackled through the speaker. You turned my husband against me, Monica said finally. I took a breath, chose my words carefully. No, Monica. I set a boundary. Trevor made his own choice. You and I will probably never be friends, but we both love those children. So here's what's going to happen. You'll respect the custody agreement. I'll respect your time with them, and we'll be civil. For them. Long pause. Fine. The line went dead. The table was silent. Then Olivia said, Grandma, you're brave. No, sweetie, I'm just done being scared. After dinner, Trevor and I washed dishes while the others played cards in the living room. You really have changed, he said, handing me a plate. I had to survive. We worked in comfortable silence, and through the window I could see Dorothy showing Mason a card trick while Ruby and Olivia laughed at something on the couch. This is a good family, Trevor said quietly. Yeah, I agreed. It is. Not the family I'd planned. Daniel was supposed to be here. Trevor and I weren't supposed to be broken and stitched back together. Monica wasn't supposed to be the cautionary tale, and I wasn't supposed to learn strength at 65. But this was the family I had. Messy, complicated, real. Trevor dried the last dish. Think we'll be okay, Mom? I think we'll be honest. That's better than okay. Later, after everyone left, I stood in my quiet kitchen and looked at the chaos. Dirty dishes in the sink, leftover pie on the counter, children's drawings stuck to my fridge with magnets. Evidence of life, of connection, of choosing to show up even when it's hard. I picked up one of Olivia's drawings, a stick figure beach scene with 7 women holding hands. In the corner, in careful 7-year-old letters, Grandma's family. I hung it on the fridge next to the others. This wasn't the story I thought I'd be living, but it was mine. Imperfect, hard-won, and finally honest. And that was enough. That had to be enough. And someday, it might even be beautiful.